Does your bike ever need an oil change? 'Cause my bike sure does. Here's my Tumbleweed Prospector. Oh, where'd that Jiffy Lube go? Should have done that, guys. Oh well. We live and we learn. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Morning to everybody. Been a while since I did one of these bike checky videos, and I figured since it's Black Friday, I should give you a gift. So here, Tumbleweed Prospector. So I've had this bike for many years. Bought it in 2017 from the man himself. It's been my trusty touring mountain bike for that whole time. It's kind of set up as a forever bike. This is a V1 frame, steel roll-off, built around the roll-off. I wanted, at the time I was shopping for a frame to be built around a roll-off. I was really intrigued by the roll-off, and obviously that wasn't like an off-the-shelf thing, so. Wow, that's a lot of roll-offs in that sentence, huh? So let's talk about the, whoa, what was that? Well, let's talk about the roll-off. So what is the roll-off? Well, it's a IGH, internal gear hub. It's 14 speeds, and it's got an oil bath inside it. So that's why it needs an oil change. Honestly, I've never had to change the oil of mine. I probably should because of years, but not because of miles. There's a lot of pros and cons to the roll-off. The main thing, I think, is being its weight. It's heavy. It's a big block, and it's centered in your rear wheel. So you can imagine it has everything. It essentially has what would be the equivalent of your front derailleur, your rear derailleur, 14 gears. I believe it's 7 gears with a reduction gear. So that's what makes it 14. So the rear wheel of the bike tends to feel heavy. The rear part of the bike tends to feel heavy. That's a con about the roll-off for sure. A pro of the roll-off though is that essentially it's a single speed. Your drivetrain is single speed. So I think I only use a 9-speed chain on it. So it's a little bit bigger, a little bit beefier, and again, the wear is very minimal on it. I ride the bike all the time, but I don't put enough annual miles on it that I've ever had. Don't think I've even changed the chain on it. It's just keeps going. So the pro is that essentially it's single and it's quieter. If the chain is nice and clean, I wax my chain and it tends to keep it pretty quiet. Tumbleweed does have a eccentric bottom bracket in it, so that's how you adjust your chain tension. Another drawback though is that you can't easily switch wheel sizes. The drivetrain itself is wrapped up in your whole rear wheel, so you can't just really swap wheel sets around and move a cassette back and forth. You have to, it makes more sense just to rebuild your rear wheel. Oh, hi kiddo. So the other thing about the roll-off is you just have to kind of change your mindset about how you shift. With a normal shifting setup, you have the ramps on your chain rings, etc. And so you pedal and moves your chain, right? Well, on the roll-off, you can't have any torque on the chain. So you can, it's nice to be able to shift or change gears at a stop, but when you're riding, you can't have any load on the chain at all. So you kind of have to either take a pause, shift, and then keep pedaling, or what I tend to do is like I time my shift when I'm at like 12 and 6 on the stroke, pedal stroke, and just try to give it like a slight back off of torque, and then you can shift it. Where it's really hard is if you're riding up a hill, steep hill, and you're on the wrong gear and you're going so slow and you can't afford to stop pedaling, you're kind of stuck. So that can be a drawback too. All right, let's get back to what this guy's saying. It took a while to find one, and I was in the process of getting a custom one at the time that this kind of popped up. My buddy Rob from Ocean Air, check the video up here, introduced me to Daniel, who happened to be coming into the area here in LA to test the prototypes of these bikes. And so they came and they stayed at our house.
I guess technically they slept in the backyard, but he and Cass Gilbert were doing some trips around the area, so I got to see the bike in person, the prototype in person, and kind of ticked a lot of boxes that I was kind of surprised that there was going to be a production bike built like this. So I was able to procure one of the early ones, and I believe, not sure, hopefully Daniel will see this and correct me in the comments, but I believe this was the first or second bike that was delivered as a complete bike. I actually picked it up from his house in Berkeley at the time. Like I said, it was 8 years ago now. So we were up in the area, and Sabrina and I had actually gone over to Rivendell, and that's also on that same trip is where the seed for her custom Betty Foy was planted, which you can see that video up here. So, sorry, dogs. So yeah, overall, this is a great bike. I've done some upgrades to it over time. I've added a suspension fork to it. It's got a Sun front hub. It's wired to charge USB devices off of the hub.
All right, so a couple years ago, I actually went from 27.5 wheel size to 29er, which is how it sits today. It is definitely a little bit faster, rolls a little faster, there's less rubber on the road. I thought at first that I wouldn't care for it, but I kind of really like it. That coupled with the suspension fork. For me, I'm a slower rider, so the bike going uphill feels kind of slow, but coming down, it really moves like a motorcycle, and that's what's awesome about it.
It's got the OG Porcelain Rocket frame bag and matching Porcelain Rocket panniers for the back, which are now, you can get the same type of thing through RockGeist, but predates RockGeist. And I just recently put the Old Man Mountain, I forget what they call them, but the things for the fork. And those have been killer. I really like those. I have one on each side of the fork. And what else? It's got a tumbleweed rack on the back, Selle Anatomica seat, outer shell bag on the front. It's my favorite. A Swood T bar to keep all your stuff off the handlebars. What else? Oh, quick disconnect pedals for when you hike a bike, Some of the stuff is just kind of aspirational, to be honest. I always refer to this bike as my Land Cruiser that's parked in front of a Starbucks. It's like maybe it could go around the world someday, but for me, it just like takes me around my neighborhood and takes me to local things here and there. And yeah, someday it could go somewhere very far, but and there are a lot of people riding them all around the world, but for me, it's just my trusty go-to bike. This is a medium. I sized up a little bit just because I wanted a larger frame, triangle, and it's the frame is a little on the heavy side for me, for sure. Not gonna lie about that part. It's just built to last forever, and if this were a custom bike, I'd probably be able to get a slighter, lighter set of tubes, but this thing just works and keeps on going. It's like the Energizer Rabbit, for those old enough to remember the Energizer Rabbit commercials. It's been to the Orca Islands, it's been into Oregon a couple times into Oregon. This bike has probably traveled more than the other ones, to be honest, because it's just the bike that you want to travel on. And I have a case that I can put it in. So mostly though, it's like a local mountain killer. That's really what it's used for.
So the Tumbleweed is probably, might be my favorite bike, actually. It kind of does everything. If I had to go down to one bike, I would probably pick the Tumbleweed and a rando bike for sure. But the Tumbleweed is like, it just really is so capable, and it'll last forever. I do wish it were a little bit lighter at times. That's because I'm a smaller guy and I am so weak. It's scary. Like this thing, I'm gonna have a cramp from holding this up while I do these videos. So I do wish it had a slightly lighter tube set, but that's a trade-off, right? Like the thing is essentially the equivalent of our truck. Our truck is a 1-ton truck. The Tumbleweed is like the 1-ton truck version of a bike. You can put anything on it and it won't sweat it at all. But you do feel it when you're pushing it uphill because it's a heavy bike. So it's all trade-offs. And the other plus to that is that when it's going downhill and you're really flying down a descent, it's got some weight and it feels very planted because of that. So, you know, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
Yeah, so if you like these videos, like, subscribe, tell your friends. Don't forget there's a membership page if you want to get the videos a day early or so. I don't know if it's really necessary, but it does help put some coffee in my cup, so appreciate that to all your current and future members out there. And catch you on the next one.